Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, I see that little pointer that's just hovering right over top of the dislike button. Just hold the phone for a second, right? So here's the deal. A lot of people are very charged up about this update. It's relatively controversial, and a lot of people are saying, oh, it's one of the best updates that's hit this game since it came out. And a lot of people are saying it's one of the worst updates that hit this game since it came out. And I think that there's merit to both sides of this argument. So today's video is going to go over the bad parts of the update, and tomorrow's video is going to go over the good parts of the update, because there's some really good and there is some really bad. And I think that there's a lot of objective ways to sort of look at the game and how it's going to be affected by these changes. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Alright guys, so we're going to go over the update again from someone that's looking at it a little bit more negatively, a little bit more like it's ruined the game than anything else. And there's a very, very easy way to go about doing that. So first and foremost, we were told it was going to be a huge update. Now, by any metric, I don't think that you can say it's like an absolutely game-changing update, you know, unless you consider meta-changing game-changing. But at this point, I don't think you can consider it a game-changing update. You know, it's an update that added some more content that we're used to. Obviously, a new banner. We were about used to getting a new banner every few weeks, so we knew that that was going to be coming, whether it be the Gotenks, Majin Buu, and Dabura banner, or something else, which in this case, it was something else. We got Gogeta and Janemba. I definitely think that we were going to be getting a banner of some kind at this point. And we were also pretty much guaranteed to get more story missions, more books and things like that, more chapters. So kind of made sense that we were going to be getting that, especially with the transformation feature, which is only really available for one character at this point. So it's a proof of concept, but it's not necessarily going to be as impactful as a lot of us had hoped, because the menu is only taking place in, you know, the shallot customization menu. Okay, it's not a separate menu, it's not a separate thing altogether like the soul boost panels, for example, where we can expect a lot of other characters to come out with customization and even with the ability to change around different transformations. Now, does that mean we're not going to get transformations for other characters? No, it doesn't. We're absolutely going to. I have literally no doubt that in the future, down the line, even if it has to take a little bit of time before they do it, we will get transformations for the main abilities of other characters. I have literally no doubt at all that that will happen. Now, it might not happen soon, but it will happen at some point. So moving forward, guys, we've got some nice quality of life updates here, but they're not really contributing to the fact that the update is massive or huge or whatever other descriptive term you want to use for it. I don't think that it necessarily makes it huge. I think that right now, the main thing that we're looking at is the banner, which is something that we already had before. I don't really think this update is huge. The problem is that the huge part of the update is entirely a negative thing. And again, you know, I want to reiterate here that this is the negative look at it, okay? This is the objectively negative look at it, looking at the facts, looking at how this is going to overall affect the way that the game flows. We will go over the more positive aspects of it in tomorrow's video. But guys, the sidestep nerf, it absolutely destroyed the depth in the game. I will explain why. So first and foremost, guys, we knew in the beginning of the game, you know, we're talking about the beta gameplay, okay? The pre-global release gameplay before most of us had access to the game. We knew that the game was running on sort of a turn-based, almost a kind of rock, paper, scissors situation. And I think that it kind of goes without saying that this is pushing more in that direction. Now, some of you guys might love that. Some of you guys might love the sort of simplified gameplay here, but the fact of the matter is that having depth in any mobile game that has a competitive endgame, a PvP endgame like this, you're going to want to have some kind of skill identifier, okay? Something that can make it so, I guess, that you can sort of distinguish between people that just spent a lot of money to get where they are and, you know, obviously have like fully limit broken teams and things like that, or someone that maybe is just really good at timing things perfectly down to the millisecond. Now, a lot of people are saying that, well, chicken, this nerf doesn't really change that. I would actually argue that it significantly changes it, almost to the point that the only way that they could actually bring this back in the right direction is to return the Vanishing Gauge restore to the original amount that you gained by sidestepping, because right now that's not the case. And then you essentially are forced to just go back and forth with your opponent on the combos. Now, if you're forced to go back and forth with your opponent on combos, you know, you combo off on your opponent, they combo off on you over and over and over again, as power creep gets continually more and more introduced into the game, there's nothing to check it, okay? I really like this sort of discussion about the sort of checks and balance system, because I think that that's the best way to illustrate my point here. So originally, sidestepping was a way to balance out power creep, was a way to balance out people that were whales, that spent a lot of money to max out their characters and just have better teams objectively than any other person. Okay, it was a way that we could, have a little bit more skill in the game that balanced out the obvious power discrepancies that certain teams were going to have. And we saw that a lot. Some of the top players in the game were not whales. They're not whales. Vlad, Bebop, I would not consider either of them whales. They definitely have spent a bit on the game, but they're not whales. You know what I'm saying? A whale is someone that has, 5 to 7 star of every single sparking. Of all of the sparkings that they want on their team, they always get them ridiculously limit broken, get them as powerful as they possibly can be, and that is not what we're seeing here. Those were the top players, and they absolutely were not whales in the traditional sense. Now, the problem here is that making it so there's no vanish engage recovery and the key restore goes down. If the key restore stayed back up high, then, the card draw could still be nerfed, the vanish engage could still be nerfed, and it still would be almost just turn-based, It's sort of like more of a Pokemon, or even, it's not even nearly as complicated as Pokemon, because there's a lot of RNG and, running numbers in your head that you have to do to be good at that. But in this case, what we see is literally just turn-based rock, paper, scissors, and that is boring. It's just boring. And I'm not counting all the free-to-play players out. I'm not counting everybody out. I've had a few people actually get really nasty with me in the comments and on Discord and things like that. And I've had a few people that just seemed pretty upset that I was counting out the free-to-play players. And I don't think that I'm really doing that. I think that we're talking about a general rule. Obviously, if you can break the rule occasionally, then that's going to be great. There is still some skill in the game. Obviously, we still have key canceling. So there is some, tech, I guess, still present in the game. But at this point, you do more damage by just continually chaining your cards together, okay? Your arts cards, if they're chained together, will objectively do more damage than if you sidestep to get another arts card by the end of using all 4 of them. By sidestepping correctly, you actually can get an arts card back and then continue your combo, 1 more card. You'll also have some key restore, but you're trading that off. And could they make it so, you have the vanish engage back after sidestepping, so then you actually have to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to be, pursuing a sidestepped combo or just a chained combo? I think that would be a good middle ground to fall on. But the fact of the matter is, right now, we see about a 90% nerf in key restore from sidestep. Vanish engage is gone, okay? We're not getting anything relevant out of that, which means that, again, it's going to be relatively turn-based back and forth like that. Arts card draw speed, again, goes down. Instead of after every 2, it's going to be after every 4. And then the battle member standby count time elapsed. I mean, that's a little bit more relevant in your late game, in your people that, switch out immediately after vanishing to refresh the vanish immediately, despite, knowing that they could put themselves in a bad situation. They're still going to be playing very, very tight, and that means that, they're going to be switching out constantly. That could be more relevant for them than it will be for someone like me that's not great at the game but just enjoys playing it. So all around, guys, if you look at this objectively, it makes the game have less depth. Okay, that is not something that can be argued. The depth has been removed by making it so the tech options that you had to do certain things that were not necessarily intended but were possible, it's going to negatively impact the depth of the game. There's no way to argue that otherwise, and I have not heard a single compelling argument otherwise to that. So there are some arguments to this, and we'll get into that tomorrow, but I don't think that this is about where it needs to be. I think this is a very, very far overcorrection. They saw people complaining about sidestepping as a whole. They decided to nerf it very, very, very far and hoped that it would fix the, I guess, possibly the PvP player retention, but I don't think that that's the actual issue. I think power creep is the reason that we're seeing a lot of people just sort of dropping off the map as far as PvP is concerned. I think that the top end players are really enjoying PvP before this update, and then after this update, there's not really a solid group because the whales are now going to start to take over. The people that have their better damage outputs when they're being turn-based, when you go back and forth, from person to person, you really have no counterplay with Vanishing Gauge recovery, then it's going to be a little bit difficult because there's no way to outplay someone if they know how to key cancel. That's the fact of the matter. There's no longer any recovery on Vanishing Gauge. You can't tech people out of stuff and outplay them. So the person that has the objectively more powerful team, which is accomplished by limit breaking, which is accomplished by spending a lot of money, being a whale, is going to have a way, way, way easier time actually taking home wins on a regular basis. And again, this is not to say that you'll never be able to take them out. It's just to say that the fact of the matter is that it's going to be much, much more difficult to take them out, which is very unfortunate because most of the people campaigning against this were your casual players that will be very, very much discouraged once they realize that there is little to no counterplay to whale teams now. So instead of having people that just know what they're doing, that are good at the game, you know, beating them down, it's going to be people that have spent a lot of money. And it's a lot easier to discount someone that has spent a lot of money as, you know, oh, they're just whaling, they're just spending money to have a good team, than it is someone that actually has some skill that, you know, times things perfectly and knows how to play the game properly at a high level. Is that a good or a bad thing? Well, you guys tell me. Would you rather be, you know, feeling like you can actually get good at a game and then beat down a player that's previously beat you? Or would you rather have a game where you can just slap your wallet at your phone and just get a ridiculous amount of power on your team so you can feel better than everybody else? And if you get beat down by whales, then on top of that, you have the added benefit of also being able to, you know, slap your phone with your wallet and just get a ridiculous power increase on your team to be able to beat whales. I mean, that's what it really comes down to, guys, unfortunately. And that's pretty much the main reason why this update is the worst update so far. Again, we're going to go over the positives tomorrow, so just keep an eye out for that. But this is basically the main argument that I've seen. You know, it reduces the depth at a high level, makes it so whales are much, much more able to just spend a lot of money and win the game. And with a power creep level that they've continued to push this at, you know, older teams are completely irrelevant now. Like, actually completely irrelevant. You know, obviously the Saiyan teams, even some of the older units like your Raditzes and your Red, Super Saiyan Goku, your characters like that, they're still going to be relevant as supports, but they're not relevant as damage dealers on a specific team. Now, obviously, that's not to say you can't use these characters. It's just to say that they're not as meta relevant. Your win rates are going to suffer if you don't have the newest, latest, greatest teams. Obviously, again, I'm not going to suffer from this. I've got a full-on hybrid Saiyan team that is almost the best it can possibly be, arguably the best it can possibly be, because, you know, obviously Super Saiyan Trunks is going to beat down your Kid Trunks if you're in, you know, that type of situation where they're running the Kid Trunks as their third. And if you can get a nice combo going and take out mainly, I guess Extreme Goten is really the one main competitor to Super Saiyan Trunks. You really don't have much to worry about for the rest of that. So yeah, you know, I've got them, I've got 16, I've got a full Android team other than Perfect Cell, I've got a really awesome Super Saiyan team, or just Saiyan team in general. I mean, all around, guys, it's really just unfortunate, like super unfortunate, that they've chosen to go in this direction where they're favoring people that spend a lot of money over the people that spend a lot of time. And that's just where they're headed. That is an objective fact, that this favors people that spend money on the game as opposed to people that spend a lot of time on the game. Now, this isn't even getting into the fact of the matter about the latest changes they've made to the extremes on every banner, making it so you have less than a 1% chance of pulling a specific extreme, making it so you're much less likely to pull a featured extreme or a new extreme that you might want, or any specific extreme you might want, which is really a dumb idea in my opinion. And that's not even speaking from a from like trying to go from a really negative standpoint here. That is just pure fact. Like, it's really dumb that they've decided to go to full on, you know, less than a 1% chance of pulling an extreme. You have a better chance of pulling a specific sparking than a specific extreme. And I think that that's a really bad way to go, because a lot of the times the way that your free-to-play players are going to even things out, if they can't pull the new latest greatest sparking once they've, you know, ground out a whole bunch of chrono crystals to spend for them, is going to be getting their extremes to, 3 to 5 stars and limit breaking them, making it so they can actually compete, because extremes in this game, at least as of the recording of this video, are still pretty decent, at least for the most part. You can still get a lot of use out of them, and again, we've talked about this before. There's some great supports, there's also some great damage dealers, and you can use some of them very, very successfully. Again, I'll go back to the androids, which have been super, super available, very easy to get a decent amount of Z power for, and have been relatively powerful. So, yeah, especially going up against Saiyans, because of their unique abilities and things like that, it's going to just be something that slowly gets harder and harder to do as time goes on, because it's so much more difficult to get a specific unit that you want that's an extreme. Now, the Sparkings, there's 2 that you want, obviously, Gogeta and Super Janemba. Now, Janemba, I think that it's going to be more relevant a little bit from now. Once we get a few of the... a few more regeneration tag units that we can take really full advantage of his, first off, his Z ability, but then his general power level as a whole. I think that he's going to be fantastic once we do get a few boos that are really, really good, have regeneration-based abilities, assuming they don't mess with his tags or anything like that. Super Gogeta obviously slots really, really well into existing Saiyan teams, as well as being a great support for the future Fusion Warrior tag, or just Fusion tag. And then we've got, Uppercut Coup, which is very powerful in his own right. Definitely more powerful, more useful now once we do see the eventual mainstream integration of Super Gogeta on, either a Fusion team or just a full-on Saiyan team. He's going to be a really great addition. So that kind of balances things out, which is nice. But then you have Super Vegeta, who's quickly going to become less relevant because of Super Gogeta. And then you have Pikkon, who's basically useless except to buff Gogeta, but currently it's really probably not the optimal way to play, because, you can't sidestep, so you can't get the Vanishing Gauge back. And Gogeta, while being really, really good offensively, is not the most amazing defensive unit. He's still really good, but he's not the most amazing defensive unit. So I think that's important to take into account here, because it means that, we're not going to be able to keep him out on the field, especially against type disadvantaged situations, where you're going up against a blue character. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to beat that. So I don't know if I can recommend playing Pikkon, and that means that we have a 3% chance of getting a specific sparking rather that's going to be overall beneficial to your teams. And really, it's going to be 2 of them, a 2% chance that you really want. Obviously, again, Uppercut Coup is great, but he's not going to be, a meta-breaking unit. He's going to be a checks and balance type unit where, you can take him up against Super Gogeta and you're going to absolutely decimate Super Gogeta in most situations. So is it even worth it to summon on this banner? Well, if you want to guarantee that you get one of these 2 new units to move on forward with the current meta as it is right now, then maybe it is. Maybe it is worth going in on it. But 2% chance to get one of the 2 new featured units, and the rest of them are okay, but not, not, again, game-breaking, meta-breaking. They're not new, and they're not the new shiny thing that you want. I don't know. Obviously, the dailies are worth it, but, you can't guarantee you're going to get anything good out of those, let alone from spending a ridiculous amount of Chrono Crystals. You get no bonuses from it, and I've seen a lot of people spend upwards of 5,000 to 6,000 Chrono Crystals, some upwards of 10,000 Chrono Crystals or more, and get absolutely shafted by the banner, getting absolutely nothing or pulling a bunch of dupe Pikkons. For every situation like me where you get, a 1 multi and then you get the Gogeta that you wanted, you have a ridiculous amount of people that are going to also be not getting him, spending a lot of Chrono Crystals, waiting for every single YOLO summon, and then going in on the last day and still not getting him with, 10,000 again plus Chrono Crystals. So is it worth summoning on overall? You be the judge of that. How badly do you want Gogeta? How badly do you want Janemba? Especially knowing that we're getting another hybrid Saiyan very soon with Gotenks. We're going to get Dabura, which obviously will have something to make him able to be integrated on any, new teams or anything like that. He has to have something. And then obviously Majin Buu, who's going to start out a slew of Buu characters that are going to be very powerful. I mean, you be the judge of if this is worth it or not. I doubt this is going to be considered a trap banner long into the future, but it very well is possible that these are going to be outclassed significantly by the next units that come out with how fast power creep is going. So I'm not going to say that it's not worth summoning on, but you be the judge of if it's worth summoning on or not. But can that be counted as a negative towards this update? I think so. I think they could have done better here. Probably added some bonuses so you don't feel like you're totally out the amount of chrono crystals you're spending for a consecutive summon if you don't get any sparkings from it. So maybe, you know, giving some bells out, or giving a guaranteed sparking after maybe 2 consecutives or something like that. Just things that they could have done to ease the pain of people that didn't necessarily get lucky like I did. But with that said, guys, we have got some YOLO summons to do today, and then I'm going to head out. But, I mean, all around, guys, there's going to be a lot of hate on this video in the comment section. I'd be very surprised if not, because I've just sort of come to expect this from the Dragon Ball community. There's a lot of you guys that are really, you know, really good people, really even-handed. So, you know, you look at the good, you look at the bad, and then there are some very, very emotional children that go into these comment sections and on these videos, and that's where you tend to have the death threats and, you know, the other things like that. It's not fun, man. It's not fun. You quickly realize who's a kid and who's isn't. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to take them all seriously, but still, like, it's not fun, man. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get into another summon here. Really want Kid Trunks still, man. We're really looking for Sparking Kid Trunks. That's the one character I do not have off this banner, and not today, it's looking like. So, second form Cell Hero, not exactly what we wanted. Now we've got Legends Rising. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a one potter, guys. We got a single potter. Come on, give me some good. Game. All right, never mind, Hero. Okay, so Kid Gohan, yeah. So the game heard me complaining about it and gave me nothing. So that's pretty much how it goes. So yeah, let me know what you think about this update. You know, if you have the negative opinions about it, if you have the positive opinions about it, let's have a discussion down in the comments. The only thing that I'm really not interested in talking about is, again, the sidestepping debate, because it's not a debate in my opinion. It's people that refuse to accept that a better way to go is a more skill-oriented way as opposed to a more wallet-oriented way. So and that is an objective fact that it does, you know, push more towards people that are going to spend more money on the game, because there's no check for that. You know, you can't beat them if they spend a lot of money and play on equal terms with you. And if you don't have sidestepping in the same way that it used to be, then it's going to be easier to be on equal terms with your opponent. So we will see how they respond to this. I think it's a terrible decision overall. And again, tomorrow we're going to go over the positives in the update. I know this is a bit of a downer episode, but some of you guys really wanted me to talk about all this. Again, I got a lot of vitriol in my summoning video the first day because I didn't really address any of the controversies, so to speak, in this community, because a lot of people are upset right now. We're seeing, again, a lot of people quit the game. I haven't seen any major content creators put it down over this because, you know, we're all maintaining hope that either it gets fixed, you know, sort of dialed back a little bit, or that, you know, there are some additional mechanics introduced or tech found that evens things out again and makes it so there's a little bit more depth to the high-end parts of the game. So, you know, we're not in the point we're going to put it down, but we are definitely not feeling the best about it. So again, let me know what you think down in the comments, but I will see you guys very soon for the next video. Again, going over all the positives, why it might be the best update yet. So there's, again, 2 sides to every story, and we'll go over that tomorrow. Until the next one, guys. Peace.